Hi, welcome to GenX Glam here on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, it's great to see you. If you're coming back, thank you for coming back. It's great to see everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video, which is really a continued conversation that we've had in other videos about this idea of branding and how wearing or using or being seen in or being seen using certain brands makes us feel, or rather, how it makes us feel knowing others know that we're using a certain brand, whether it be a knockoff brand or whether it be the brand that's being knocked off. I'm bringing this up because there's a very interesting video that I saw, and I'm going to link it here. It's by a content creator who I think is really fascinating. I love watching this guy's videos. He's got a great accent too, because he's coming at us out of the UK, or I don't know where he is. Okay, maybe I have profiled the guy. He's got a British accent. I don't know where he's filming from. Anyway, there's a link to the video, and he's talking about, I'm still letting my my milk foaming primer sit for a little bit. I've got all my other skincare down. This stuff is kind of cool because you really only need like 1.5 pumps of it, because it liquefies pretty quickly, you know. So if 3 pumps, it's dripping off your hands, but it like sizzles on your face. I love it. So while I let that sit, I located my lip brow pencil that I couldn't find the other day, and it was right in front of me. Anyway, in this video on duping, I guess that's like the thesis of the video. He talks about this content creator. He talks about a brand out of Australia called MCo Beauty. Its founder founded a beauty company that wasn't known for being a knockoff, right? So I guess this is what, her second crack in the space. But her second crack, this MCo Beauty, it focuses on dupes. And we talk about dupes all the time. Like, I guess in our part of the world, we're often just talking about like E.L.F. because they seem to dupe stuff. And so speaking of dupes, I've got out some products from my collection that I guess that could fall in that dupe category in the context of what you and I have probably seen other content creators discuss as such. So this MCo Beauty and this content creator that I'm talking about, that I linked the video to, the proposition is that they're taking the duping a little bit too far. And this is solely based on packaging. Okay, so let's look at, and you got to watch the video. It's not very long to see, because this content creator is very good at the fandangled images hitting your screen, which you don't get here on GenX Glam. You just get me and my monologue. But so let's take the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Hollywood filter, for example. Okay, and let's look at it against the E.L.F. There's no ridging, you know, here in the E.L.F. top. E.L.F. clearly has E.L.F. and it's white. You know, there's no, you don't see any red text as you see here in the Charlotte Tilbury one. But if you go and you look up the MCo Beauty version of the Charlotte Hollywood Flawless filter, man, you've got the ridge bottle, you've got the gold, like it looks really close. So then you're splitting hairs on the ethics of it all. Like, is it okay to dupe something if it looks like a dupe, probably is a dupe, but it doesn't look exactly like the packaging? So this company's more ethical than the other company that like 99.9%, you know, rip off of the packaging. So, I mean, I don't know, you're splitting hairs. I would argue, and I've said this before, that was just my NARS under eye, Night Swan color corrector. I would argue that branding and the bridge between the haves and the have-nots, it goes so far back in history that has shaped our social norms and the way that we feel about those norms. It goes way back to the aristocrats and the peasants. So how are we ever going to get to a place in our in our herd mentality where we don't care, right? We don't care if it's a dupe or if it's not. We don't care about, there is no duping. There is no branding. We're living in a social utopia where all things are equal. Nobody's judging anybody. We're never going to get there, right? So if you ask me, it's kind of a moot discussion. People are always here. I'm going to go ahead and use some of Charlotte's, we're going to go ahead and use some of Charlotte's Hollywood Flawless Filter because I actually do like this product, and I actually also like the E.L.F. product. But yeah, it just kind of goes back to it being a moot point. I don't think we're ever going to get to that point of a social utopia where people just aren't going to care. And then I also wonder this, like, look at me. I've got both. You have consumers like me that buy the dupes and they buy the real deals. Why would somebody do that? Maybe I'm an anomaly. I've never really considered myself too close to the center of social norms. But let's take Charlotte's, let's take her compact, for example, because the compact has also been knocked off. You gotta go watch the video. It looks remarkably the same. And if you were, say, let's just put you at a bougie event. Say you were at the opera, right? And you go and you or at the Oscars. Now let's stay at the opera. Say you're at the opera, you go to the restroom, washroom, depending on what part, water, closet, toilet, depending on what part of the world you're in watching this opera. And somebody whips out a gold compact and you're like, and you whip out your gold compact and you're side by sides at the chicy little washroom at the opera house, and you can see, you can tell, you know, and the person next to you knows, one of you is using the real deal Charlotte Tilbury compact and the other one's using the XYZ brand, you know, knockoff. So again, how does that make folks feel? The person using the real deal compact that society as a consumer in society has conditioned us to believe is elitist. It's the aristocratic one. Maybe the person using it is that much more up on the ladder than the person not. That person feels like, I don't know, maybe some validation, like, yeah, I'm in the haves side of it. And the person that doesn't is just like trying to slink underneath the beauty vanity just because they're completely embarrassed because they think the person next to them knows that they don't have the Charlotte Tilbury compact, and they start to stress out about, you know, they start to feel the imposter feels, and, you know, and it brings them down, and maybe they go back out to the opera and it ruins their experience. And should it? No, absolutely not. It should not. I'm all about the social utopia. Don't even get me started. I would love for that day to come. Do I think it's going to come? No. And in the meantime, we have branding. And do I think it's gotten any better or worse over my lifetime? Absolutely not. I've talked to you about, you know, when I was a kid in the 80s, and hey, Barb out there in Labrador, this one's for you, my friend. This dupe is for you. I went out to Shoppers last night and I got L'Oreal shade number 800. Thank you so much for the recommendation. And let's take a look at it against the new Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Light. Shall we? Here's the new Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Light. Let's swatch it on me. There is Charlotte. I'm going to put the L'Oreal on the other side of my bands just so we don't get confused. I'm going to put them next to each other as well. I mean, I don't know how much you can pick up on the camera. You can tell from the packaging, this is not a direct ripoff. Had L'Oreal wanted to rip off Charlotte Tilbury packaging really, really in an obvious way, we probably would have seen the ridges. We would have seen the same shade of gold, but we don't see that here. But Barb, I think you're right. And I did put these on last night when I got home because I was so excited to try your recommendation of the L'Oreal 800. And honestly, there wasn't a ton of difference in color. In formula, here comes the L'Oreal, as I promised, on this side of my bands. I mean, they're both in the nude family. They're not the same, but Barb has made an excellent recommendation for whatever it was, $11.99 Canadian. This is a fun color. It's a beautiful nude, okay? And I actually love L'Oreal. It's one of my favorite brands, BT Dubs. But is it a dupe of the Charlotte Tilbury? I don't think it is. I feel the formula different, but is it a beautiful shade? Absolutely it is. Am I super happy that Barb made the recommendation for me so I can have it in my collection? Yes, I am. Thank you, Barb. So this is our Charlotte, new nude. The formulas aren't actually too different. Because like I said, I did try them out last night. I wore them around the house for a little while and I was like, thank you, Barb. I'm going to go in another coat with the L'Oreal 800. And actually, they're beautiful when you mix them. I mean, there you go. I wanted to pull that out and put it in this video. I'm not going to use all of my dupes here, but I will show a few more. Just, I mean, they're out there. Wow, look at, that's the e.L.F. side. Look at that glow. That's the Charlotte side. I honestly, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get out my e.L.F. putty brush and just do a little bit more blending because I usually take my time blending. And I'm feeling a little bit rushed here, but like the final result, right? So similar, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about the necessarily the result, unless you get like a major breakout. Some dupes are just so bad, they're giving you like bad stuff going on your face or wherever it is that you use them. We're talking about the mental perception of a person feeling the imposter feels when they think somebody else knows that they're wearing whatever into dupes or knockoffs. That's what we're talking about. I mean, the formulas are really dang close. All right, here's another great example of a knockoff I happen to have in my collection. This is the PLOuISE Rumor Base eyelid primer. It's fantastic. The pigment is, it takes me a while to get this stuff on, so I like it in a way that I feel comfortable and not, feeling my clown face. So I'm just going to swatch these for you. I'm not going to necessarily use them, but it's just another example of dupes that are out there. And I bought this dupe on Amazon because at the time I had not figured out how the heck to to order from PLOuISE. So this one, there's, where we're going. There's the knockoff, there's the real deal. And in this one, I do feel a difference in the formula. The PLOuISE blends better. It's just much more smooth. And since I got my PLOuISE one, I don't even know why this is still hanging around actually, just because it's part of the collection. And you have to really do something to offend me to get out of the collection. I'll find a spot for you, maybe a bottom drawer, but I'll find a spot for you. But there it is again. There's our Charlotte Tilbury Nude Light, and then there's the L'Oreal shade 800. I'm going to do a bit of, I'm going to use my Too Faced New Creamy Bronzer, just because I want to blend that in. Excuse me, and I need to get going. I'm going to Shoppers Mart today. Surprise, surprise. I am buying an early graduation present for my older son, and I'm going to get a discount on it, so I have to go today. He wants the, I think I've mentioned before, I got my 18-year-old son obsessed with samples, as obsessed as I am. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree sometimes, guys. If you have kids, you know. Anyway, he has been mostly obsessed with samples of cologne. Men and women's. He doesn't discriminate. If I don't want a women's sample, he takes it. And he's like, okay. And I mentioned before, he trades them on Kijiji too. So I never really know what he's up to with those samples. But anyway, he is identified after a couple months of sample hunting, the cologne his forever cologne. And it's, as we know, brand name colognes are definitely not cheap. He wants the Gentleman's Society Extreme, and I'm going to get it for him because I'm going to get a discount. And I told him this is a early graduation present. So that's where I'm off to a little bit later today. Last thing I'm going to do, I did locate the milk setting spray. Let's look at it. I mean, E.L.F's got, E.L.F doesn't discriminate either, you know. A lot of, like this, you know, this E.L.F is like, okay, maybe Charlotte's Tilbury. E.L.F is like, okay, maybe we'll dupe some milk today. So, today, in our next drop. Guys, I'm going to sign off now. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to link that other video. You can let me know in the comments what you're thinking about duping. But at the end of the day, until we find ourselves in that social utopia, I don't know, people are going to continue to judge people. There's going to be a divide between the haves and the have-nots, and unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It's so much fun to talk about. I've mentioned before, I come from a social scientist background. I love talking about this stuff, and I like hearing about it. So let me know in the comments, and wherever you are, whatever you're doing, have a fantastic day. I'll also link the current GenX Glam giveaway video in the comments because I used a tool today. I use these all the time because I went in, I always do this. I always say I'm leaving. And then they're like, is she really leaving? Look at this. I wanted to use my sample of the Guerlain Double Serum today, but look at what I needed to open this guy up. I needed a tool. I'm linking the video to the GenX Glam tool giveaway, and you know I'll throw other stuff in there. You know I'm going to throw you in something on the side that you can put on your face. So go check that out, and I'll say again, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, have a fantastic day. I appreciate you. See you in the next video.